I'm kind of glad that I'm going over this particular film. Why? A simple reason. This was another one of the original films that I saw when I was a little sprout all those years ago. This is one of those many films where when I saw it, I was not only hooked into the world of film, but I was also impressed with the different variety and the fact that this was the movie that made John Travolta the star that he is. Many different scenes from this movie that just made him so iconic. Night Fever, the You Should Be Dancing solo spot, his dance with Stephanie when they were doing More Than a Woman. Not only was this film shot perfectly, but John Travolta, like I said, he took months, I believe at least maybe 6, 7, I think 8 months or so, to not only learn how to dance, but to be in the best shape at his young age for this particular role. He was fucking sensational in this movie. As for what this film is, well, simple. Tony Manaro, played by John Travolta himself. He's an average guy that lives in Brooklyn, New York, works in a paint store, Italian family. Life's boring for him during the weekdays, but on the weekends, he is the king of the 2001 Odyssey. He's the king on the dance floor. Everybody fucking loves him. Dancing is his specialty, his natural talent. But when the local dance competition comes to town, he meets with a woman named Stephanie and develops a friendship with her. But the thing is that not only that, he also has to deal with the problems of reality, his choice of friends, and changing his life in general. I'm going to just say this out here. Now, this is just one man's thought. I honestly think that Saturday Night Fever is a coming-of-age type of film. You want to know why I think it's about a coming-of-age film? Because the thing is that in the beginning of the film, he's got a bunch of friends who are very adolescent, who goes hog wild, barks like dogs, does drugs, gets into gang fights and all that stuff. And I honestly think that the friends that he has, let alone dealing with adolescence, and the thing is that the friends that he have aren't necessarily as mature because all they want to do is to score, get some pussy in them, and that's that. Go in the back of the car, get some pussy, fuck, and you name it. Drink, smoke, all that stuff. But the thing is, once he starts becoming friends with Stephanie and realizes that there's more to life than all these things, and I want to get myself together, leave my current situation of the job that I have, develop new friends, be out of the area that I was living in and move into a much more better and bigger place, and maybe develop a career into dancing, because that's obviously a natural talent he has. All the hell possible of just learning the repercussions of what transpires. It's literally, to me, a coming-of-age story. It's literally all right there of growing up, maturing, getting yourself together, being a better person because of not only who you meet to change your life, but also leaving the old life and creating yourself something new for a fresh start. I love this. That's what I really admire so much about the story. But also, you got to look at this, and I'm just going to talk about this because this is one of the biggest key element factors of what made this fucking movie not only important, but also the entire scenario, the aspect. It was the music. The music for this movie is literally, if not, one of the best soundtracks to any fucking film I've ever heard. It's one of my personal favorites because Robert Stigwood, who was the manager of the Bee Gees for so many years, they were working on a next studio album that was prior before Spirits Haven't Flown. But the thing is, while they were working on the next studio album, Robert Stigwood asked the Bee Gees if they can give some songs for this little film about this guy who works in a paint shop, goes to the club on Saturday nights, you name it, to not only fit the narrative of where the story is going, but also give it an atmosphere of what the disco scene was about. So when everybody gets together with a couple or the friends, goes to the club and just has a nice fucking time. So the Bee Gees ended up giving those songs. How Deep Is Your Love? I'm just going to say this about that song. I consider it to be the greatest love song that has ever been written. Whatever love song that came out from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, out of how many that is just a masterpiece of what defining what a ballad is, I think How Deep Is Your Love is the greatest love ballad that has ever been written. Staying Alive, Night Fever, If I Can't Have You, More Than a Woman. Those songs right there written for this movie to give the appearance and that visual, the whole shot. Staying Alive, how that plays a narrative in the beginning of the movie where he's walking down the street with a paint can. Night Fever when they're doing the whole dance. More Than a Woman. That song was featured twice. There was the cover where him and Stephanie were in the studio practicing their routine. Then the actual dance competition itself when they're doing their little romance dance, that song. Perfectly fucking shot. If I Can't Have You, which was covered by Yvonne Elliman. That was a nice little song that was featured in the club as well for atmosphere. How Deep Is Your Love, after what happened on the Brooklyn Bridge, seeing Tony Manaro in just that mood of sorrow and how that particular song fits into his mood. Even at the end of the movie where clearly those two didn't have any particular romance. It was the fact that they ended up accepting that they're going to be friends and help each other. She's going to help Tony get his life together. Them holding their hands together, the kiss on the forehead. That right there is more love than you can imagine. Because showing that they care and will help each other. So the soundtrack for this movie, Chef's Kiss. And plus you had some other great songs as well. You had Open Sesame, Kool and the Gang. You also had Boogie Shoes, Casey and the Sunshine Band. You also had Disco Inferno. That song's about roughly at least 10, maybe 11 minutes long. It's a long song, but goddamn, what a groove. The Tramps. Some of the best fucking music you can hear in this goddamn movie. And this film featured it. Original stuff that was written for it, and stuff that was featured for it. Amazing. Absolutely fan-fucking-tastic. But this movie itself, there was one scene in the film where Tony was practically fed up. It was where he and his buddies were by the fucking Brooklyn Bridge. He was fed up after his little instance that he had with Stephanie in the back of the car, which he regretted immediately. Because he knew that he fucked up. But when they went to the bridge... Now, Bobby, their buddy, Bobby J, he was the youngest one of the entire group. He was the one that always drove the car, always drove them everywhere, and he was the youngest one that all these guys fucking picked on, and so on and so forth. But the thing is that poor Bobby J, he was having problems himself, because the thing is, he got his girlfriend pregnant, he was going to marry her, but no, a lot of people were not only ignoring him, but also Tony wasn't being a good friend trying to help him either. And that's a fucking crying shame right there, because Bobby J was trying to preach for help, but he was just getting ignored. But at the end of the film, when he was on the bridge acting all where he was trying to do the silliness on the bridge, but unfortunately that didn't pay out very well for him, thus resulting into his demise. And that was where Tony said, you know what, I had enough of this fucking bullshit. I honestly think his life changed right there after that very moment. The movie actually does get pretty dark as it progresses. It's not just about the dancing and the music and the whole atmosphere. It's, like I said, the coming-of-age story as well. Of where Tony wants to get his life together and just move on and do something better for himself. This movie is a fucking work of art, man. It really is. Now, originally, this was supposed to be called Saturday Night, just like Staying Alive. That song was originally supposed to be called Saturday Night as well. But it was changed to Staying Alive to not only give it a proper presentable title, but also the lyrics for that song as well. But for this being called Saturday Night, hence the inspiration thanks to Night Fever, Saturday Night Fever was the title for this fucking movie. And it's perfect. Saturday Night Fever. When I saw this movie as a kid, not only was I inspired by how I saw John Travolta looking like a star for this film being his biggest break role, but the coming of age element of what this story transpires into, the way that this movie is shot, cinematic, iconic scenes, the way that the club looks, the music, the presentation, the story itself, the interactions, that Italian personality that Tony has. The film itself is just fantastic, and it's obviously a film that I gave a perfect 5 stars too. So folks, that's going to do it for my little talk on Saturday Night Fever for you all. Let me know down below your thoughts about this movie. And as always, ciao for now.